What is going on, everybody, and welcome to the Swing for the Fences show. I'm back. I'm your host, JSU, here to talk some playoff baseball with my boy, Big T. Big T, we got some playoffs. We got some all-day slates for baseball. It's like bringing back the NBA.
Yeah, I love it too. I mean, these baseball slates are fun. I always love the baseball playoffs because there's just a lot more strategy than the regular season, and I don't think people quite realize like what goes into it. Like today's slate, everyone just goes anytime there's slates where everyone just goes the same direction, I think there's big edge, and that's always the case in these playoff slates because people just stack just like the normal season. There's a bunch of stuff we can go into as we go through these games, but everyone just literally treats it like the regular season. They find their two favorite pitchers, they find their favorite stack, which is always against the worst pitcher on the slate, and they just put their chalky team in a little 4-game slate and like think they're going to get to the top doing that, which is tough. So I love these slates. The hard part always the first day is we got all good pitching. So it is tough to find some sticks that you like, which makes it even dumber I think, to just jam in the chalky bats. And you just can't do that, I don't think, in tournaments. Yeah, cash games, that's fine. Tournaments, I just don't think you should do that.
Yeah, and I agree with you. We got some really good pitching on this slate, and I think you're right. A lot of people are going to do the same stuff, they've been doing all season, the stacking the chalk, 4 or 5 man. And I don't know. I think, we'll get into some strategies and ways to go about it. But I think when you have so many good pitchers on the mound, first of all, you can't just fade all the bats there's just too many good pitchers going today. You're going to have to play some bats against some decent pitchers. And I think, one strategy that if you're MMEing especially, but even if you're making like 3 lineups, playing a bunch of mini stacks where you're not kind of going all in on one game, a lot of people are going to treat it that way. But I think, getting a little different, maybe taking a few different pieces from like 3 or 4 different teams and going about building your lineups that way. I don't mind that construction where like, on FanDuel today, and like at least half my lineups, I'm going to limit myself to forcing only 2 players from any team in each of my lineups, which is going to make me so much different on FanDuel, where everyone's going to try and stack 3 or 4, just like a normal, slate. And this isn't a normal slate. It's playoffs, and we got to find some hitters, even against some tough pitchers. So I like that today. I think it's going to be different. So, a lot of people talking up Tampa. Yeah, they get the, probably the worst pitcher, on the mound for today, but there's other ways to go. So I'm excited to talk with you. We got A. Dean in the chat saying, JSU got to be an Altuve guy. Why am I an Altuve guy? A. Dean is are you trying to say something right now? Yeah, you like A. Dean. Of course you do, because you don't like, Big T doesn't like anyone who's short. He X's those guys right out of his player pool if they're short.
I like women that are short.
That is true. Your wife is short. She is short. But let's dive right in, Tony, and we'll start with the Houston Minnesota game. First of all, we've got 2 pitchers, Greinke and Maeda, on the mound. Both these guys. First of all, pitching in general, like. Let's just talk an overview before we get into actual game. What is going on DK where they just kind of you can play anyone you want. Like you literally can take your favorite pitchers. They've got Bieber and Maeda, $1,000 difference. Cole is only $600 difference from Maeda. I mean, they have to be so popular because of their price tags, where I think you might be able to get an edge on the field. I'm not saying to play Maeda, but Giolito, like we might get an edge just because some of these pitchers are going to come in super popular.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things about these slates. You almost have to decide how to treat that. I'm always under the belief that you kind of just play the pitchers and get different with the hitters, just because. I mean these top four guys. So I think you can break this slate down pitching wise into the 4 and 4. I mean, you got Bieber, Cole, Snell, and Giolito are clearly the like four premier guys to me. And then, but that's not even to say these other guys are like bad. Like Luzardo, I've liked him all year, and it's just tough. Like you said, he's 8,300. These other guys are 9K, 8,600. So like, it is really, really hard to click that button. And the issue is like Bieber and Cole for me are going to go deep unless they just get shelled, which in that case you're done anyways because they got shelled. If they pitch decent, they're not coming out. These are 3-game series. They're not long series. They are not. I mean, they're going to pitch until they either get hit or they're at a high pitch count. So for me, I mean, it's even hard for me to play Snell over those guys, honestly. Like, Snell is a decent price discount, so I think he might get some ownership. And he's not that much cheaper. I mean, Cole and Bieber are going to go deep in the game. They got the highest K props. Everything about it just screams to play those guys. And not to mention it, I was just outside playing baseball. I mean, I'm only a couple hours outside of Cleveland. I mean, it's cold. It's not hot. That ball's not going to be flying out of that park. It says it's like 60 degrees right now. I mean, they don't play till 7 tonight. It's not going to be warm. So I really don't see. I mean, you got a 6 total in that game. For me, I like to just make these slates simple and just play those two guys. I know that. I mean, we're doing a show and we're going to talk about other things, but to me, seems simple. Giolito would be my third guy, though.
I don't know. I don't know. Is everyone going to just stuff in Cole and Bieber in the same lineup together? Is that going to be the popular
probably
lineup?
Not, because people hate doing that too. Like, I can't give up my win points. Like, I don't care about that.
People understand if Bieber strikes out 13 and loses the game, like Cole gets the win, you're still going to want Bieber at 9K in your lineup. Like, all right, so first of all, like with Bieber, like one of the things we can look at in his last 3 starts, he's given up 3 home runs. He is going up against the Yankees. This is a matchup where I could easily see the Yankees hitting 2 bombs off of him, but the dude's striking out double digits. And if the guy gives up 2 bombs, I don't even care, 3, 4 runs. Like if he strikes out 10 to 12 hitters, you're going to want him at 9K. Like he's going to be a really good option. So
it is going to be so hard for him now. I mean, both of these guys, like it's all right, like right now they're both projected like 50%, like anywhere you look, 50. If we get both these guys 50% on a 4-game slate when they're guaranteed to go deep, I mean, that's Christmas to me. Like, sure, that sounds high to some people. Like they'll be like, oh man, that 50%'s high. We got other guys like Giolito and Snell and Maeda and all these guys. We can get them at 10% or something. It's like, I look at it the other way. Half the field is fading them. And then you take it even further, like you just said, what, 15 to 20% is at most is playing both of them together? Like that right. Just feels, I mean, how likely is it that they're the 2 leading scorers? I think it's pretty likely.
Yeah, exactly. So I think on DraftKings, it's interesting. Playing them both together is a route that I'm going to look at for sure. I'm probably going to play only 2 lineups over there, but I will definitely have that construction and probably one of them.
What is Eric Johnson and Chad even talking about? Like he's just like he just keeps like spewing off. I don't even know what he's saying.
What is he saying?
The Yankees are favored to win. You're the Vegas guy. Like, what does that even mean? I mean, first of all, so it's basically a coin flip anyways. Like,
is he talking about the win, like the pitcher getting the win? Is that what he's talking about?
I don't give a shit about the pitcher getting the win. Like I'm chasing strikeouts. So
yeah, I mean maybe that's what he's saying. And I think our point is that both these pitchers could end up having double-digit strikeouts. Who knows? Maybe it's
K props. My point is this game's going under. Like it's going to be a 2-1 game. I mean, matter of fact, I'm going to give a free winner because I'm putting it up on the bet side. Like, there's no way this game's going over. These guys are.
There you go.
in 50-degree weather with the two best pitchers in the American League, it's going under. Like, I mean, I don't know what the chat's saying, but like, I'm good. I hope no one's on both of them together. Like, I hope people laugh at that.
Well, we always talk about ways to get different, and I think that right there is a way, even with two 50% owned pitchers, a way to get different, right? You play them both together. Boom. That's going to be a little different. Now, the other guy that I'm looking at hard is Giolito. I think you're right. Blake Snell is going to be popular just because of his DK price, where he's 7,800. So, he's $500 different from Giolito. Does that get you that much more? I don't know, but I kind of prefer Giolito over him. A strikeout prop that they're pretty similar they're both at, I think, 6.5, but he's way on the over, minus 157, the over. Like, I think Giolito is a strong play against Oakland. He's probably going to be my third highest pitcher if I'm MMEing. I rank him like Cole, Bieber, and Giolito, 1, 2, 3, and then Snell would be right after that. I agree with you, though. It's those four that I would look at. The question is on FanDuel, what are we doing on FanDuel? Because now you take into account the fact that they're appropriately both priced, ahead of most of the pitchers on FanDuel. So we got 11-2 for Bieber, 10-9 for Cole. What are you doing here? Because yes, the Yanks are favored. We know the Yanks are favored. I need to go on
another tangent about this.
Here we go.
Stuff like this. I mean, you guys just get me on a tangent here on Tuesday morning, which is basically our Monday, by the way. I mean, we finished the football week out. You guys are going to get me like, who says something like they're a favorite when it's like a minus 112 to minus 104? Like, they're favored. Like, a favored means you're like a 1/3. Like, if it's 112 and 104, like, you really bragging about being favored? Like, that's a coin flip. Like,
this is like the guy who scores 6 fantasy points to the guy who scores 12 fantasy points, and someone's bragging about it. Weren't you just talking about this?
That was last week. Was that you that was arguing?
No, this was. I thought it was you guys yesterday.
Yeah,
with,
it was
Mangone.
12 and like 9, and he was taking the big victory last.
Like, when Big T's talking about it, you need to absolutely like have a huge lead or big favor on someone to
or
brag
at least, like,
about it.
Have a guy that goes off. Like, you can't take a victory lap when the dude gets a touchdown and 12 points. And the other dude doesn't get a touchdown and gets 9 points. Like, that's not a victory lap.
Like, if you said Tyler Lockett over anyone else on the slate, you can victory lap. You can victory lap every single person. But so when Tony says favorite, he wants them to be a huge favorite. Like,
at least
he's
like
not talking about a close favorite.
130. Yeah. I mean, 112 though. Like, there could be one big bet, and all of a sudden Cleveland's 112. Like, it's a coin. It's like when there's a 1.5, 2-point favorite in football, and they're like, "Oh, that team's favored." Like, it's a coin flip. One big bet, and the line will go 2 the other way. Like, they're not favored. It's a coin flip.
I mean, it just shows you how. First of all, it just shows you how much respect Bieber has. That's just how good of a pitcher Bieber is. Like,
both these guys, like, how could anyone think there's an edge in that? These guys are studs. Just bet the under. Dude, that's the winner.
I think if you want to say, the Yanks have more power and they have more upside from like a hitting standpoint, I might be able to go there. Where like, if I'm going to call, someone to give up a few home runs out of these two pitchers, I think I would go with Bieber just because I could see him giving up 2 home runs to all the Yanks power, but I still don't see a huge edge. There's not like a huge edge, and I don't have like a crazy call for that. That's just me though. I still see Bieber as having the most strikeouts on the slate. I would bet that over Cole. I think he strikes out the most batters. But that's just me. Anything else from this the pitching slate? I wanted to get your thoughts on FanDuel real quick because of the price difference.
I'm going to go back in on chat again. Like, is this a bet show? If it's a bet show, if we damn well want it to be a bet show, like, well, people don't like winners now, JSU? I thought everyone likes winners.
I mean, it's a free winner. You don't have to play it. Like, Big T gives out a free winner.
I mean, people hate money.
I mean, I guess they don't like money. I'll tell you right now, that's Like if you don't like betting, that's fine. Like you don't have to bet. Big T's not forcing you to bet the Yankees under or the
I'm
Yankees,
simply just saying,
Indians
like,
under.
if you like money, then bet the under. Like it's simple. But anyways, back
I
to your
like
question.
money.
I'll get off the tangent. FanDuel, I'm just doing the same thing. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're more expensive. 11-2, 10-9. My 8 is 9-7 though. You can't play that. Giolito's 9-2. Like the way I've always looked at this, like if I can get Giolito and one more like big bat over just a total punt bat, I'm just always taking the pitcher I like more and the dead punt bat. Like that's just the way I do it. Some people might do it differently, but I mean, for me, I just think they're that much better of pitchers that I do like Giolito though. So I don't want it to sound like I don't like him. Like if you like Giolito, he's clearly my third favorite pitcher of the day. And some people like to not go all in on stuff, like spread it around a little bit. I don't like doing that, but I do like Giolito. So definitely.
Here's the thing with FanDuel. Now, where the win is a more key, obviously, on FanDuel, and you only get one pitcher, and you do want the win, right? I think I'd be more – I think on FanDuel, I'm going to take the savings with some of these cheaper pitchers in Giolito and, maybe Snell too. I think I would
got the best chance to win.
Yeah. I think I'm going to take the savings there. Whereas like Bieber and Cole, it's a toss up on who gets that win. Like really, like it's so close in my opinion that I'm just going to take the savings where I honestly trust the White Sox and Tampa to get it done a little more today, honestly. So that's where I'm going to go on FanDuel. But on DraftKings, I think I might play both Bieber and Cole together. And I might even do it in both my lineups. Like it is so easy to do. And you can still play any bats you really want. Like it doesn't hurt you salary wise. So I think that's the route I'm going.
That's the nice part about FanDuel that you just brought up too, is we always get just super cheap guys on FanDuel. I mean, we don't have all the lineups yet, but you can kind of see the different ways to go. I mean, you already in the first freaking game, you got the Minnesota Arias in the one hole for 2,300. I mean, that's also an example. So we can kind of switch from the arms into the sticks a little bit. This is where the playoffs get interesting for me because literally on a site like FanDuel, everyone just plays a spot like this. And I really honestly in tournaments just think it's a horrible play like that. It's the contrarian. It's the tournament side in me. It's why I think I'm good in baseball over the long run. Because I think playing Arias at 2,300 in the one hole is just terrible. And like people, really good baseball players will laugh at me and say that's dumb because he's cheap and it fits with whoever and blah, blah, blah. The ownership and the upside isn't there. And I just never play that spot unless I love Minnesota. Like if I just love them, then maybe I play them. But and not to mention he's in the first game. We won't have all the lineups before the early lock at 2. More than likely, maybe we do because it's the playoffs, but it's just going to be so high owned that you could go anywhere else. Like Brandon Lowe, the Tampa Bay lineup just came out in the 2-hole for 3,700 on FanDuel as opposed to 2,300 with Arias. You're going to get Lowe even lower owned now because of that. And I mean, I don't know. Like, what do you think about those just chalk plays in the one hole?
Yeah. So first of all, like you said, we have the lineup out. He's super cheap. I agree with you that the ownership is going to be extremely high. And I'm with you. I kind of like going with more upside in this situation where a lot of people are going to go safe route, the cheap route. I think there's a few guys at second base, like particularly on FanDuel, where you said Brandon Lowe. I even think DJ LeMahieu. I know I talked about Bieber, but I don't know how many people are going to play DJ in this matchup, but DJ is one of the best hitters on the Yankees team overall, in my opinion, at least this year. This dude, I mean, his teammates were even saying how good he is. Like, I'll take this guy against any pitcher on the board. He's got as much upside on the board as anyone at second base. So I think a lot of people are going to play, the 2,300 Ariza at second or Altuve. And I don't know. I like more upside. I like Brandon Lau. I like LeMahieu if I'm getting MME, getting a little different in tournaments. Those are the way I'm going to go. And then I'll find value at other positions that won't be as chalky, which I think is another thing that you do. And I know you do really well is you always find cheap bats. And when you talk on FanDuel, just because there's a cheap second baseman that's hitting in the one hole, we can find cheap players as we go on and talk about in other positions that will be lower owned, that won't be as popular because people we know are punting at second base, so they might have to punt at other positions. So I think that's another way where you can get a little different. And, most people just will plug that second baseman in and they'll say like, oh, it's terrible. You saying he's a terrible play, but we know he's going to be chalky, and I don't hate it. Like if you're going to stack Minnesota, leave him out of your stack.
Yeah.
Like literally just leave him out of your stack. Like build a lineup and plug someone else in at second base and stack Minnesota. I love that. I love that strategy for tournaments. Yeah. So let's dig into this Minnesota-Houston game just a little bit more. Let's stay with Minnesota. I just talked about, okay, leave him out of your stack. Who are we looking at then from Minnesota if we're leaving him out with a little more upside?
Yeah, I mean, on these slates, this is why I love these slates, because there's just not going to be many runs, in my opinion. The whole slate, like I don't see teams going crazy. So if you hit the random Jorge Polanco down in the 7 hole that gets a home run and a double and a single even or something, and you just break the whole slate with one guy. And that's why ownership is more important to me on these 4-game playoff slates than ever, because literally, like, if you play Arias and he has a huge game and he's 50% owned, sure, it's nice. Don't get me wrong. Like, yeah, it's great. You got the guy. You're going to have him. He's 50, but he's 50%. So you still got to get through that 50%. Whereas if you play Polanco and he's 5% owned, he has the game that breaks the slate. All of a sudden, then you only got to beat 5% of the team. It sounds simple to me. Maybe some people think it's dumb, but like it's just simple equation for me. And honestly, in a 1-game sample size, there's not much difference between the two guys. And Polanco might even hit. I know they're not the same position, too, for the people saying like they're not the same. I understand that. But it's a whole roster construction with ownership and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I like pretty much the whole lineup. You look at it. I mean, the catcher, you can always play the bad pump catcher. No, we have to play one somewhere. So, Marwin in the 9, you can play. Polanco. Really, the only guy in the lineup I think is a bad play is Arias. And he is a little bit better of a play on DK just because he's priced up. But he's still not an upside hitter for 4,800 on DK, where I don't see it. Like I don't want to pay 40. Like you said, DJ LeMahieu. We love Bieber. No one's going to play DJ LeMahieu at 5,200 against Bieber. Even if I have Bieber on all my teams, I'm fine playing a hitter against my pitcher, because you know what happens if these 3 games are low scoring and we get to that night game. Literally, no one is going to have DJ against Bieber in the same team. And just say second base already busted on the day, all those points just shoot you up the leaderboard because no one has that combo. And, yeah, granted, it's not a great spot. Bieber against a friggin' DJ, like, that's a tough spot for DJ. But the ownership, again, we circle back to that, and it just it's nice to get DJ under 10% owned.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. And we just got the Rays lineup out, too. So, I mean, not much of
that's the team that's going to be on FanDuel is going to be just so
absolutely popular. Yeah, that's going to be the
like they just
side.
have to be.
Well, I mean, we all know they have, from a pitching side, they have the best matchup on the board, right? With Shoemaker. I mean, I can't talk anyone out of Tampa because I do like Tampa. I think you like Tampa, but I'm sure there's ways where we can get a little different with lineup construction.
I don't think you need it though either. Like the park still sucks. Like they're still. Yeah. I mean, their team total for a chalky team is 4.5, and the under is juiced hard, -136 on the under. I mean, that means Vegas is basically the sports books are basically giving them 4 runs in this game as the chalk of the slate, especially on FanDuel. DK, maybe you can go a few other directions, but FanDuel. These prices, I've explained to me that the Brandon Lowe too, like how is he always the only guy that's priced like on Tampa for the last like a month? Why is he always just way up? Because he hasn't been that great. It's just
it's just how it is. It's him, and then everyone else stinks, I guess, and they just price them all down low. But I don't know. I'm taking a different approach from you. Like I said, I'm going to do a lot more mini stacking and have a few different spots in my lineups from different teams. So I'm going to have a piece of Tampa, but again, I don't think I'm going to full stack Tampa because everyone's going to full stack Tampa. I think I'm going to take, two of my favorite bats that I like in lineups. I like Kiermaier. I like Lau. We talked about him. My boy Adames, Willie in the 5-hole. I'll look at him at 4,100. Like, I want guys with power, though. I want guys with upside. That's what I'm looking for. So I'm not playing like the Joey Wendell. Like, I'm not playing him. Even Nate Lowe first base, 3,500. Like, I'm just gonna X him out of my player pool. Sure, like he's decent hitter, but just someone I don't need the savings at 3,500. They have other cheap guys to me with more upside that I can get to. Kiermaier for 3K. Like, I'll take that all day over him. So I think I'm gonna do a different approach. But again, it's not going to be the popular approach because a popular is going to be full stacking Tampa Bay for sure.
easily. Yeah. Like I think at least 3 or 4 Tampa Bay guys, most people are going to have that. It's going to be so chalky, especially maybe not even low, but like the rest of these dudes, how do you pronounce it, low or low?
I know
one of them's
that
low and one of them's
Brandon
Lau.
Brandon Lau is Lau, and I'm pretty sure Nate Lowe is low, but I could be wrong. That's the way I'm going about it. We don't have Holden here to mark it down and then correct us at the end of the show, so he'll be on tomorrow. But
I think you can go Tampa, honestly. Like, I always like Kiermaier, Margot, Wendell. Like, that's kind of the spot I would like. I don't think there'll be many teams where I play 1, 2, 3 even. I mean, I think I like the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 range more than anything. And especially on FanDuel, like, Kiermaier is going to be low owned. I don't know what it is about this dude, but I always like him. He always feels like he just grinds out points for you. Maybe he doesn't have the just massive upside with home runs and stuff, but he can hit triples, doubles, steal bases. He's like a good playoff player too, where he's down in the 8-hole, low owned, and he can just grind you out points. You want points on this slate. There's not going to be as much offense. There's not going to be – your whole team's not going to hit a bomb tonight. At least I don't think. I'd be stunned if there was tons of runs. The weather's changing everywhere. It's going to be cold most places. I mean, Tampa's obviously inside, but Tampa's park sucks. So – the weather doesn't matter because the park already sucks. I mean, there any?
That's one of the reasons why you
right?
don't need to full stack it. So we got a question, and it kind of tails into, Randy Smith said, can you talk a little about construction? Like, are we full stacking? What kind of builds do we like? I talked about one of the things that I'm doing, which is more of a mini stack approach where I'm getting pieces of different teams. Remember, there's a lot of good pitching on this slate. Even the pitchers that we didn't really talk about, like, these aren't bad pitchers, right? Like Luzardo, Maeda, like, we didn't really talk about these guys, but on normal slates, they're not people we normally want to fully attack, right, Tony? These aren't pitchers that on normal slates, if we got like 8 to 10 games, no one's talking about attacking these guys, or if they are, they're talking about it in like MME, large field tournaments. So that's kind of the way I'm constructing. Talk about your type of lineup construction or what you're looking for today.
You just said it perfectly. Like, if these games, say it was a normal 12-game Friday slate, regular season, and these 4 games were on the slate, no one would stack any of these games. Like, they wouldn't even think about it. It wouldn't even be in the equation to stack these 4 games. So why are we doing it? Just because it's 4 games, just because we think we have to? And I'm a stacker. Like, honestly, I'm a stacker. But on these 4-game slates, you just don't have to. I'd say more than likely my construction will be like a 3-3-2 one-off type build where I still want to get little pieces of stacks to where if you hit that, because you don't want to just go like eight different dudes like all the way off the grid, because that is even harder to hit the random pieces each game. So I do think you need, I mean, bare minimum, like 2 and 3 man stacks still, just not the full 5 on DK, 4 on FanDuel. I mean, if you love the spot, sure. But if you just go in there and stack 4 or 5 Tampa guys with the 2 best pitchers, I think you're really, really doing it wrong. And I mean, sure, if Tampa goes off, and you're going to maybe min cash too, because there's just so many combos out there that you got to beat. I'd rather like play 3 Twins guys and 3 Oakland guys and 2 random dudes where I'm unique. I want to be unique. Every show I do, every sport I do, I want that unique factor without having to be something crazy. Like if I can play Bieber and Cole tonight and be a unique team with a 3-3-1-1 type stack, sign me up. I don't even care who the pieces are. We can find those out.
Yeah, exactly. And Tony talks about being unique. We talked about already a few guys where you can play as like one-offs, like DJ LeMahieu, even playing them with the opposite pitcher where you have them with Bieber. Like that is going to make you unique for sure. Like playing Bieber and then getting in a Yankees bat against him. But I agree with Tony. Like, so what's tomorrow's slate? Tomorrow's slate's like 8 games, right?
The next
so
2 days
on tomorrow's
should be,
slate, I guarantee you, me and Tony will have a different opinion on lineup construction with eight games on the slate.
Yeah.
But with 4 games, that's just one of the things. With 4 games,
and it's the aces too. Like you have to put that in there. Like tomorrow, all these AL teams, instead of their number 1, they got their number 2 out there, which in some cases is a massive drop off. So it's, I mean, if you had like if there was a spot I love today, even if it was, say there was just, say there was Coors Field or something against a bad pitcher, and I loved a stack, like I just thought they were going to just crush 10 runs, I wouldn't be scared to play Bieber, them, and a stack and just get totally different with my other 2 or 3 pieces. But it's just not on this slate. Like, if you love an offense today, go for it. Like, just say you think Giolito is going to suck today. Stack Oakland, absolutely, if you think there's an edge that way. Like, I just don't see it.
Let me get one more point in here. So I think one of the things that we do in DFS is we try and obviously look at a slate and say, okay, what is the worst? Okay, who's the worst pitcher on the slate? We got who the worst pitcher is on the slate. So, in fact, he has to give up the most runs. But we just talked about everyone's looking at it and saying, oh, okay, he's obviously the worst pitcher. We're just going to load up on the team that's facing him. When in reality, like Tony said, in a normal slate, we wouldn't even be looking at stacking most against these guys. Mostly we'd be taking pieces from them. And I think in the spot in Tampa Bay, obviously a pitcher's park, like it's not the best spot to just full on stack. And that's Tony's point, as chalk, right? If this was Tampa going against, in Coors Field, it would be a totally different scenario. And that's his whole point behind it is we look at it and we just say, oh, this is Tampa has to score the most runs. They have the best matchup. But in our viewpoint, it's like, if everyone's going to do that, we could just say, no, we're only going to take a piece of that game, a very small piece. And then we'll take, pieces from the White Sox, Minnesota, Houston, maybe New York. We can get different with a couple of our stacking pieces from those games. Whereas everyone's going to go Tampa. And if Tampa is just a 4-3 game or whatever, like most people are going to be drawing dead and our lineups are going to be live. Like that's the way I'm looking at it. So anything, let's talk, since we're on Tampa, we got to talk about the other side, right? So we got Blake Snell, he's pitching for Tampa and they're going against Toronto. Toronto has some righty power. Any bats from Toronto? I know we don't have a lineup out yet, but any bats from Toronto you're looking at?
Yeah, I mean, so we're always looking for that kind of one-off type play. I mean, I'm just looking at up and down who it could be on the list, and I just don't see it. I mean, there's one-offs in spots I like, but I hate – again, I keep saying it, but I hate this park. Snell is just a miserable matchup. And even if he only goes 5, they got just so much pitching they can throw at you in this bad park that I just don't see it. Like, I don't think there's a single bat in. I mean, you can play Teoscar or Grichuk just as a total one-off, Bichette maybe. These guys, I mean, you could definitely play them as a one-off if you had a strong take. Let me make sure, like, has any of them hit Snell at all? I know a lot of people don't like BVP, but in the playoffs, I think it means even more because that any little mental edge you can have in the playoffs. Let's see. Yeah, I mean,
Vlad has passed 6 or 7 games, has been hitting a little better too if you needed, another power righty bat. But I'm with you. I don't think you need to force it here.
Teoscar's 1 for 11.
Yeah.
Jansen's 1 for 7. Grichuk's 3 for 19. Yeah, I'm definitely fading Toronto.
Yeah, I'm with you here. I think that Toronto, I think people are going to actually look for some righty power from Toronto just as like a one-off. Teoscar might be someone people look at, like you said, Grichuk. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm probably going to stay away. So let's go back to the White Sox and Oakland game. Let's talk about the hitters. The White Sox, in my opinion, are going to be the most popular team outside of Tampa Bay, I think. Or they're 1-2 in my opinion. So it's Tampa, White Sox, or White Sox, Tampa, however you want to look at it. But the White Sox are going to be very popular. Do we like the White Sox here, Tony? What are you looking at here? Because I see the White Sox and I'm like, yeah, from an upside standpoint, they got to have the most upside on the slate here.
Yeah, I think they for sure have the most upside, and I think people realize it, though. So, again, you got to kind of weigh it like we're saying. Maybe you play – I think you should definitely have at least a little White Sox exposure just because they are the upside spot without a doubt. I can't wait to see the lineup because hopefully they give us something tasty at the bottom, like Luis Robert or something down there. E5. I mean, I always like when you got Abreu and E5, so you can pivot a little bit to E5, maybe slightly lower owned. I mean, Timmy Anderson is always going to be my favorite guy against left-handed pitching. So even if I didn't stack the White Sox, I would have a ton of interest in just playing Timmy Anderson as my +1. Let me see, who – so at shortstop today, I mean, there just isn't much. You look – I mean, you got the Yankees and Indians are 2 of the better shortstops. They're going – obviously in tough matchups. Correa hasn't been good. Polanco is the guy we kind of talked about for Minnesota as the pivot for me off of Timmy Anderson. But Timmy Anderson is definitely a super hard fade for me against left-handed pitching in the one hole more than likely, even though we don't have the lineup. I mean, the White Sox are definitely in a great spot today.
Yeah, and one thing I love to do, I'm going to go back to FanDuel here, is James McCann. I assume, for catcher anyways, he's catcher first base on FanDuel. Everyone's going to want to play Abreu, maybe Encarnacion, but I love throwing in catchers just because they always come in lower owned on FanDuel. No one wants to play the catchers, but McCann's got big upside here. He's got tons of power, and I think he's going to be a spot where I get some leverage on the field where he might be one of the lower owned White Sox bats that you can find on FanDuel. So I think over there, if he's in the lineup, I'm going to attack
I don't think he'll be in the lineup.
You don't
Maybe
think so?
Will. I hope he's in the lineup.
I hope so, too.
He hasn't been playing much, has he? I hope he's in there. Please let him be in there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we don't have the lineup. If he's in the lineup, I'll preface by saying that. But
I would love playing. I mean, he's been in there a decent amount. You're probably right. Maybe we get him in there.
I mean, maybe we don't. I don't know.
He used to always be in there against lefties, and
that's what you would think. You would think he'd be in there, though.
That was before Grandal. I mean, I hope he's in. Put it that way. If he's in there, I love him.
So Gary's saying he's Gio's personal catcher. So
really,
I mean,
I like
yeah. And then Fantasy Rat says he will be in there.
Yeah, they're all saying it now. I'm excited now. Then I love that.
I think he's a spot where I'm going to be way overweight on the field, especially, like I said, on FanDuel. where I'm going to MME on FanDuel, and I'm definitely going to get over the field on him.
I love plays like that on FanDuel too. Like, just those are just so elite. Everyone plays first baseman. You come back with the catcher. He's always hit lefties good. Man, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, and like I said, you can make your stack completely different with the White Sox, even playing Timmy Anderson. And if you wanted to play Abreu, you can still play Abreu, and you throw McCann in there with them. Like, I love that stack. Talk about your boy Moncada today. Normally, you don't like him when he's going up against lefties. Yeah. What about on the playoff slate? Like 4 games, are you looking at any Moncada? Or are you holding true to your Big T rule of no Moncada versus lefties?
Yeah, I mean, you know me too well I just don't play him. I'm looking, let me pull something up, bro. I mean, he is. So just in 2020, I got just his 2020 numbers up against left-handed pitching. I mean, a 111 ISO, 317 WOBA, 37% K rate. I mean, he's just a disaster. I didn't realize it was even that bad. Just a total disaster again. I mean, he's awful against lefties. I'd be stunned. I hope he's in the 2-hole so people play him. Like, I don't want him to be like – sometimes versus lefties, they put him down in, like, the 5 or 6 hole. People won't play him down there as much. Please put him in the 2-hole and let people play him, because he's not good versus lefties. I won't – my rules for the most part with the guys in baseball, I just ride them out because – I trust them over the course of time. Some of them might be right. Some of them might be wrong. They're in my head, some of them, but I just go with them. I mean, if it works, it works. It doesn't. And Moncada versus lefties is definitely always a fade for me.
Let me just say, if you're looking on FanDuel and you're looking at third base, there are not a lot of options. I mean, Moncada is definitely going to be popular over there. In
please
my
let
opinion.
him be popular.
He will be. Look at go over to FanDuel. We've got Ramirez at 4K, Bregman at 3,600, then Moncada at 3,300, and then after that, it just drops off. I mean, we got Tommy La Stella at 3K, but there is not much else that we've got at third base. I mean, all these third base is going to be a spot where I think a lot of people pay up for one of these top 3 third basemen. But I don't know
That's
about
where
you.
I kind of think you can get different with a chalky stack and play Joey Wendell at third, 2,700. Play Kiermaier in the ace. All of a sudden,
I do not like Joey Wendell.
Yeah, but it's not a normal slate. Like, we don't need the bomb.
I mean, yeah, it's not. If
he gets a double and a couple singles or something, like, he could easily be on the winner. Like you said, third base sucks. Look at these third basemen. Like Gio against Bieber. You got Jose Ramirez against Garrett Cole, who I do like Jose Ramirez. I kind of put it in the playbook. I did the write-up part at the bottom, but as far as Cleveland, like Ramirez, Lindor, Naquin, you got 3 guys I think you can play against Cole, even if you play Cole. Like, why do people like Bieber so much more than Cole?
Why do people like Bieber so much more than Cole? Because I think Bieber's been more consistent in his strikeout. I think his strikeout upside, like their strikeout upside is off the charts, obviously. But I think Bieber's just shown more this year from a fantasy and strikeout upside consistently throughout the year. That's my opinion. I mean,
Cole got it going though. Like, he's been rolling the last.
He has been.
Like,
I don't know how you can argue either way,
7.
really. Come on, like, these guys are both elite pitchers. Like,
I'm just saying, if I had to choose, I think I like Cole more, and I think everyone else likes Bieber more. I was just trying to figure out why, because I don't know. And like, you just look at so we got a decent sample now, 60 games. I'm one of those. Some people in baseball like to look at like a 10-year freaking sample. I love right now looking at just 2020 numbers in the bubble, no fans. It's not a massive sample, but again, I'm okay with the smaller samples. Like, you got like 60 at bats for a lot of this stuff. If you just pull up the Yankees and Indians type numbers, I mean, the Yankees are only striking out. Most of them are in the under 20, 19% from the righties. You look at the Indian side has a much bigger sample. Because I don't know what the deal is with it, but they have like 200 at bats for Lindor, like big sample, 28% from the righties, 23% from the left, are all hitters. So, I mean, like Reyes, Naquin strikes out a bunch. Perez, you just got a lot of Ks in that lineup, I think. Besides, like, the obvious, Lindor doesn't strike out. Caesar doesn't strike out much. Santana. So the good hitters don't strike out a ton, but the bad hitters, they get struck out a ton.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked a little bit to hear you say that a lot of people just love Bieber way more than Cole. I mean, I'm with you. Like, I think I would, if I had to choose one, I'm going to take Cole here. But again, like, I don't see that much of an edge either way. Like, I really don't. I think they're that close in pitching. If there's going to be an ownership difference, though, you think there's going to be an ownership difference between the two?
I mean, nothing like noteworthy. Like, I think they're going to both be in the same. But I think Bieber will be higher owned. But I mean, what does higher owned mean? I mean, an extra
right, like 60% to 50 or 55.
Like, it's going to be basically
like
the same. I mean,
all right. So at third base, if you're looking at third base, you said you like Jose Ramirez as a pivot at the top.
Yeah, I like Jose Ramirez, honestly, is like just a +1 even, where he's the type of guy that could hit 2 bombs off Cole too and just completely break the slate. And even I like him almost even more in Cole teams than people. Again, like, that's just the GPP mind in me, where most people will think that's crazy, but it's a 4-game slate. Cole could strike out 10 and give up 2 bombs, and both of them to Jose Ramirez, and you're going to win a tournament if that happens. So I'm good with that. I mean, you don't have to. It's not like the most optimal way probably, but third base sucks. Even if you like Cole, he's a great play.
All right, so we got off we were talking about Moncada and the White Sox, and then we got into kind of third base. On DraftKings, there's a few more options at that position just because, multi-eligibility. DJ LeMahieu, second and third base. But there's a few other guys who you can look at over there where it's a little different. But I think you're right though, Tony. I think you look at the top and you say, okay, who's got the upside? Where Moncada, you talked about him against lefties. It's just it does not look good against lefties. So I don't mind the Ramirez call. Bregman, I think he's another one you can obviously look at as well. But I'm with you. I think I'd lean Ramirez if I had the money to get all the way up to him. Anyone else, though, obviously from the White Sox that you love before we get into this Oakland side?
No, I mean, I like the whole – we need to see a lineup just because they can do a lot of different – I like the McCann call a ton. I didn't have him on my projected, so I wasn't even thinking about him. So when you said it, it kind of threw me off. But now the more I think about it, the more I just love it. Like, everyone said he's going to be in, so I trust it. And I'm super excited about that. I mean, he's almost a lock and load for me, honestly, at catcher because – I mean, FanDuel, maybe not. Maybe you don't lock him just because first base too. But DK, where you have to play a catcher, I'm looking at the board, and there isn't one I like more than McCann. So it's almost a lock button for me. He's another dude that's always hit lefties good. Love it. So we can kind of transition over to Oakland, though, because this Oakland lineup, to me, is a really good pivot off of Tampa chalk. These prices on FanDuel are super low. DK, I'm sure they're freaking low too. Let me see. Yeah, I mean, so this is a perfect example. Like Chad Pinder in the 8-hole, 2,200, eligible at 2 positions. He's more of a lefty masher than a righty guy. So he's probably going to suck. But if it gets you everything you need just to play one punt, he has some power. Yeah, plays like that just stick out. I mean, Robbie Grossman in the 2-hole will get maybe some ownership just because of how cheap he is. Matt Olson, I think he's hit like 3 bombs off Giolito and like 8 at bats or some BVP I saw when I was looking at it. He looks good. Jake Lamb is super cheap on FanDuel, I believe. He's
25.
Third base too, that same third base position. Where I like that. And he was like terrible early in the year. I mean, he was like remember when he was a stud for Arizona, like not that long ago? And he just fell completely off.
Yep.
But he hit a bomb last week, and I kind of like Oakland. If you ask me just if I was going to stack some team on this slate that based on ownership and everything, I think it would be Oakland. Just as far as a full stack, even though I'm not going to probably do that, if I had to pick a team, I think Oakland would be that team for me.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I love the Matt Olson call. I think Matt Olson's kind of like what you were talking about with Jose Ramirez and DJ LeMahieu, where I could play Giolito and still have Matt Olson on my team. And if Giolito goes out and dominates, but Olson hits that bomb, that 2-run bomb off him or something like that, I mean, you're going to be so different. And Matt Olson's got the upside. Quickly, I want you to touch on, obviously, so you talked about Chad Pinder. He's 2,200. We talked about the Ariza kid on FanDuel. He's super cheap. This is what I mean by we find different values that aren't going to be popular. So like the difference is like on DK, like Pinder, no one's going to own it in the 8-hole, 2,200. Whereas like on FanDuel, Tony's looking at it like Ariza, everyone's just going to flock to him. He's the chalk. We'll find value. Most positions you go to, we can find some value. Polanco on DK at 3,300. Like the way Tony's looking at it, I just want you guys to see like every spot we're going, like he's picking out some type of value, pretty much. Unless we can't find someone at all. He brought up Lamb at 3rd. I just want you guys to see it because this is how he gets different. This is how he figures out. These are the unique one-offs that Tony will probably have built into his script, or even just his like 3-max teams, which not many people do. So like, he finds the one-offs that the, masses, the most chalk people aren't on, and then he'll target them and he'll be overweight on them. So I just wanted to kind of highlight that because it was a perfect picture of what you were saying earlier. And you just kind of did it while talking about it. So that was good. I think we covered that game. Let's move over to the final game of the night, the New York Yankees, Cleveland. We talked about a few one-off hitters. Is there any chance, Tony, that you would stack either of these two teams?
I mean, anything's possible on a 4-game slate, and it could happen for sure. Like like I said earlier in the show, if you love a team or hate a pitcher, you should take that lean on this slate and go with it because I honestly don't have like a super strong take on this slate besides the one-offs. I mean, I really like the pitching all the way around. Even Shoemaker, I honestly don't hate him. I mean, I'm not going to use him because we have other pitchers for cheap that are good, but I don't want to pick on him. I don't think he's like a gas can by any means. And obviously, Greinke's been a grinder. Maeda has nasty stuff. I mean, there's just not a spot I see to exploit. So there's no way I would stack this game. I mean, the Yankees, I think this game's going to be 2-1. So there's no way I'm stacking it. But if you liked it, I mean, there's tons of big hitters in here. Maybe they just get it going and drop the hammer on one of these pitchers. But I don't see it personally. I think it's a 2-1 game. All
right. So if we're mini stacking this game, you're taking like, your favorite 2 bats. I think from the Cleveland side, obviously you talked about Ramirez. Is there anyone else you're looking at, or would it just kind of be like a one-off with Ramirez?
Yeah. So I like Lindor as a one-off. Naquin always is in play for me against a righty, especially Cole. Like Cole more than likely is going to strike out 8-9 guys, give up probably 1 or 2 bombs. And if you can somehow hit the 1 or 2 bombs he gives up, who knows? You could be in a position to ship something today. So for me, I'm only going to play those guys. I mean, Santana's not the worst play, but I don't want to pick on Cole, so I'm not going to go super deep. I mean, maybe if you wanted a 4th guy, it'd be Josh Naylor just as a super cheap punt. But I don't think we need it. So for me, just Ramirez and Lindor are really, really good +1 plays to me. Like very, very good, especially because we always talk about this and it doesn't mean anything. But to have a guy in that late game with all the upside when these other games are over, it's just fun to have a guy with that much upside that if he does something special, you're just going to shoot up that leaderboard. And again, it doesn't mean anything. It's just one of the things I like. And those are good guys to do it with. Even Naquin, a guy that can hit a bomb. He's been solid all year. Love him against righties. He's 2,800 on DK. He is, I'm sure, even cheaper on FanDuel. He's 25, so he's not crazy cheap on. I like him more on DK than FanDuel. I was hoping he'd be like 2K on FanDuel or something, but yeah, that's it for me. And I'm not going to play any Yankee. I mean, I'm okay with DJ, but I don't know. I don't think I need it. The more we've talked about this slate, I think I'm going to fade the Yankees completely.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have some DJ love. Like I just said, like that dude is he's such a good hitter. I mean,
he never makes
I just won't count him out. Yeah, no, he always seems like he's putting the ball in play, and he's just got so much upside where I could see this game ended 2-1, and it wouldn't shock me if DJ was the one who gave at least one of those solo home runs. So I just think he's a strong play. And like I said, I wouldn't mind playing him with Bieber in my lineup. Like on DK, yeah. I could literally play Bieber and still play DJ. I could play Bieber and Cole and still play DJ and Jose Ramirez for that matter. Yeah. Like you want to make a completely different lineup. Start your lineup with those two pitchers and Jose Ramirez and DJ LeMahieu, and then just build from there. Your lineup is going to be for sure unique, just with the pairing of those pitchers and then the 2 one-off hitters. I don't mind that strategy. So
I like it. And if nothing else too, like the slate is going to be low scoring, I think. So if you get say you get a little push early from some of your bats and all of a sudden you're sitting on, maybe you're close to the cash line or something, and you got both late pitchers and those 2 stud hitters just as +1, that's a unique build with a ton of upside late.
Yeah, for sure. Eric Johnson in the chat, he said, "Oh no, Big T, I like the Yanks." I mean, listen,
I picked the Yanks to win. Like I like Cole more than Bieber. I think the Yankees will win, but the problem for me is I don't know where I think the run. I think they'll hit like maybe a bomb or 2 or grind out like DJ double. Maybe something happens to get him over to third. They get him in. I think they manufacture a few runs there. I don't know where they come from is my issue.
Yeah, I agree. It's a tough. Most of these games are really tough to just full out stack. That's why we talked about kind of having a little different strategy than that. If you guys forgot, free winner, the under in the Yankees game was Big T's free winner call. If you like to bet, if you do not like to bet, you do not have to bet. It's just it's an absolute free winner.
If you hate money, don't bet it. Put it that way.
There you go.
If you hate money.
There you go. So, I mean, I think that's going to do it, Tony. Real quick before we get out of here, talk about what we got going on with, the showdowns, all the showdowns we got. We got the NBA showdown tomorrow. I think they have a Millie Maker out for it for basketball. And then we got the Thursday night showdown with possibly the worst game that we could literally get on the showdown slate. Talk about it real quick for the people that aren't subscribed.
Yeah, I mean, Millie Maker tomorrow should be fun. Like always, we'll have a playbook. We'll probably talk too. I think we got this baseball show tomorrow. We'll probably talk about the showdown with that a little bit. So we'll give that a little bit. But normal playbook, bunch of detail in that. Rubio Dimes has been doing a good job with some of those playbooks, as well as me kind of hopping in there. But he's done great. We got that, and Thursday. So I'm big on the showdowns, especially football. Thursday one, though, is going to be tough for even me. I mean, that is an ugly football game. About as ugly as it gets, honestly. We'll try to find some gems. Like always, we'll do a show for that, playbook for that, bunch of detail that we'll have for that game. Even though the game is tough, we'll try to find an edge somewhere. And, yeah, I'm excited for today, just these slates. And we're going to have – so for the whole playoffs, which is basically the next 2 weeks, we'll have a playbook every day, core plays every day on the website. We won't do the tiers just because there's not as many games. Don't really need to do the tiers, but we'll have a full playbook. Like today, I listed all the pitchers and all the stacks. That's probably what we'll do. We'll still list a full playbook, but the rankings will mean more now than they did before because it's shorter slates. So even the 4-game slates, like I'll list 4 or 5 catchers, even though I'm only going to play 1 or 2. Just in my order of how I would play them, kind of. So lots of options for the playoffs, even over at Run Pure.
Yeah, for sure, guys. And we're gonna be back on this show tomorrow. We're gonna probably have these shows at least for this week. They're gonna be about 2 hours before slate lock for MLB. So I think tomorrow's show could be at like 10 a.m. Eastern time. So make sure you guys come back, check us out then. And like Tony said, we'll maybe talk a little showdown hoops at the end of the show as well. So it'll need me and Tony back. And I think we might have added Holden, just with the bigger slate. I think Holden might be jumping on with us. So make sure you check us out, guys, and check out Rumpier Sports if you haven't. That's going to do it for us. For me, JSU, Big T. We'll see you tomorrow.